Next, our last session before lunch. It is called Spain on the Radar of International Investors. Is that so? Are international investors paying attention to what Spanish companies and startups have to offer? We will soon find out. Please welcome Eduardo Salvo, managing partner at Antai Ventures. He's going to moderate this next panel. The floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me well? Yeah. So it's a pleasure to be with you all here today to explore Spanish startups opportunity and how it has become a fertile ground for entrepreneurship and also attracting international investment for relevant international investors like these guys. Spain has become, in the last few years, a vibrant ecosystem. Just to throw some data and give some context, in 2023, Spanish startups raised over 2.2 billion in funding, which means around 16% CAGR from 2017. And it's ranking Spain now as the fourth ecosystem in terms of volume and number of deals done. At the same time, out of those rounds, 86% were on pre-seed and seed stage, which means obviously a long way to go on those startups. And when it comes down to enterprise valuation, Spanish startups were valued at over 100 billion overall, which means around 3x growth since 2019. And is now the second fastest growing market in terms of enterprise value growth in Europe. So all these trends not only highlight the level of development of the entrepreneurial ecosystem, but also the attractiveness that shows to international investors to invest in the market. Companies like Glovo, Cabify, Wallapop, Job and Talent, Playtomic, and Idealista have shown that it's quite possible to build successful startups from Spain and to scale globally. And these companies are becoming a flywheel to new companies to be built. And these entrepreneurs are becoming a huge inspiration for the new entrepreneurs that are building companies so far. At the same time, regulation is taking small but relevant steps, like with the startup law, in order to help attract international talent here in Spain to build companies. Also, public investment institutions like ENISA, ICF, and CEDETI are investing quite a lot in venture capitals and in supporting companies. And at the same time, there is an emergence of technological hubs like this one, Tech Barcelona, and also many more in Barcelona, Madrid, and Valencia, which is fostering innovation and helping new talent to build companies here in Spain. Today, we are fortunate enough to be here with these relevant investors that will share with us what is their perspective on the Spanish market, the lessons learned from helping Spanish startups to scale globally, and challenges that we are still facing. So without further ado, I'll introduce our investors today. On the first hand, we have Alexander Kremer, that is a partner at Picus Capital. Picus Capital is one of the biggest venture capitals in Europe, based in Germany, that has invested pretty much in every region worldwide. We also have Marrel, that is the CEO and co-founder of Breega. Breega has offices in Spain, France, UK, and Africa, and is now launching their third European seed fund and has over 600 million as under management, if I'm not mistaken. And last but not least, we have Francisco, that is a partner at Bynd, which is the most active Portuguese fund in Spain, with over 16 investments, and recently launched their third seed fund to invest in Iberia. So let's start first doing some specific questions to each of our panelists. I'll start with Ben. So in 2022, you opened an office in Barcelona. And,
yes.
You recently launched European Seed Fund 3. And you have clearly supported many startups here in the ecosystem, especially like companies like Kukio that we were just discussing, O11H or Dawa. So I was wondering what aspects of the Spanish ecosystem motivated you to double down in Spain, and how they have influenced your vision on the Spanish market potential.
Well, good afternoon, or good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for having me. Yes, I mean, we're at Breega, we're all entrepreneurs, right? So we're all founders, and that's why we created the fund we would have loved to have when we were on the other side of the table, and bringing more than just capital to the deal we make. And very early on, we went international from day one, because we know that, if you want to build a big business, which is, our case, like, it's very hard to tell people to do something if you don't apply it to yourself. So, like, okay, how do we go international and source deals across Europe? Spain and more particularly Barcelona at the beginning was clearly one of the tech hubs with the highest potential, because it gathers a lot of factors that we all know are instrumental to building a strong ecosystem, which is talent, and between the fact that local talent is super strong, that you have world-class education in Barcelona, and because of the location, you also have a lot of international talent that is more than happy to move to Barcelona versus other cities in Europe. That creates a lot of that potential, and then that capacity to expand from Spain, somewhere else. So it kind of pushed us into doing some deals locally very early on, even before we launched the office here. Due to the fact that I speak Spanish, and then you have some connections in the market, and we started investing here, and then we thought, okay, let's put some people on the ground and materialize that presence and that track record. And to your point, I think now we have a long list of very prominent startups in Spain, and we are here to stay, because ultimately we really think that as you said, yes, the European VC ecosystem took a hit in 2023, so it's not as big as it used to be, and it's been growing since 2015, but it's not as high as it used to be. I think obviously there was a bit of a hype that we need to put behind us, but all the key elements I was mentioning are here, and we see amazing founders and amazing people, and we don't want to miss the opportunity. And we have the fourth biggest tech market here in Spain, so why would we sort of close our eyes and not make the most of it?
Amazing. Follow with Francisco. So you're, as I said, the most active Portuguese VC in Spain, with over 16 investments, investing in companies like Incaptos and Rose, Impress, and recently launched your third fund, which is targeting 40 million, if I'm not mistaken, to invest in pre-seed and seed in Iberia. So I was wondering, which key factors do you consider when identifying talent in order to build global scalability companies?
Yeah, so also thank you very much for having me here. Well, so you said Portuguese fund. We like to see ourselves as an Iberian fund, because, well, the founder of Bynd is actually Spanish with a Portuguese family. So we have Spanish and Portuguese LPs, and our portfolio currently is from Spanish and Portuguese founders. So our thesis is really to look at Iberia as one market, and try to benefit also from some differences that exist that we believe are very complementary. So regarding the choosing investments, and looking at companies, maybe focusing specifically on the scalability side, not to be talking here about the common criteria that we all look at companies, but for scalability, we tend to look at maybe three main topics. The first, when we look at the founders, which is of course the most important topic, we invest in pre-seed and seed, by the way, so normally we are talking about investing in a team and in a big market opportunity, so founders are the main criteria for us to invest. And in the scalability side, what we try to look is, do they have previous experience in other markets? Have they opened a new market somewhere down the line in their past track record? And are they able to attract talent? This is something really important, what we have learned when opening new markets, which is to be able to really hire very strong local profiles and not do everything from the main country or depending only on the founders. The second topic that we look is as the market opportunity, if it's really a global play and not maybe a local pain. And by local, we can typically say it can be local by being from Southern Europe or from Central Europe. You have many cases like this, and this is they can be investable, but it needs to be identified from the beginning because it changes the variables and the expectations that we need to have in every project. And so the market opportunity changes. For example, one key metric that we can look is competitors normally based local competitors, or do we already see global competitors? And this is an indicator of the opportunity in hands. And the third one is the specific barriers that you can find to scale. And you have many, as if you have founders here, they know it better than us. Regulation, every country in Europe, unfortunately, they try to, of course, standardize, but in many industries, very different from country to country. Also, the technology adaptation. Do you need to adapt your product to be able to enter a new market? And also, finally, what's the cost, the resources that you need to open a market? So this would be the three main areas for scalability that we look.
Thank you, Francisco. And right now to Alex. So Picus has made some big investments here in Spain, especially the latest one was I think that, so Cabilio, that was co-founded by, hello? Hello? Okay. So being Cabilio, the latest one, the company co-founded by Jose Ojeda and Alex Valls, among many others. And also you, Alex, are based in Madrid now, so I guess that Picus is making even a bigger bet into the region. So I was wondering, how do you assess local talent and their execution capabilities?
Yeah, I think we are quite... Hello? Okay, it's working. I think we are quite lucky that for various reasons... Okay, let's see. Yeah. I think there are both external and internal factors that make this market so much more attractive to us in the last few years. I think certainly last 2 or 3 years VC overall on a global scale has gone through quite a number of changes. And we are global investors, starting from Germany, but invest around the world. But certainly there is a little bit of a tendency to invest closer to home in these years. And I also think the global environment overall with politics and also what's happening in the US actually make it more attractive for us European investors to invest closer to home. I think when it comes to Spain, we have seen an amazing development of talent in this market. We, even though we have not been super active all these years, but we've started investing in this market in 2017. And we have just seen, and I think you alluded to it, that a lot of the local companies have grown and have, generated a talent bench, which is now going out and starting new companies. At the same time, we see that some of our other portfolio companies, for example, from Germany, from France, from the UK, set up offices here, and also that provides a good training ground for the next generation of talent that is now going out and starting companies. And lastly, I think the market overall and the location has become attractive also for Spanish tech talent that recently located back here. So overall, we feel there's quite a number of factors that make this market so much more attractive, and also why we want to be more active in the region moving forward.
Thank you. So coming back to Ben, I'd like for you to share with the audience how you have supported companies that started in Spain and that have escaped globally at the time of actually launching new markets and targeting new geographies. Because considering that your next fund is going to target like a third of it into the Iberia Peninsula, I would love to know how you are going to help also not the previous ones, but also the future companies from Spain to scale globally.
Okay. So back to the origins and DNA of Breega. We are all founders and operators, and we also realize that a lot of VC funds pretend they're hands-on, but it's really hard. I mean, you're fundraising, you're investing, you're sitting at board meetings. So we, from the get-go, dedicated a team of people just for helping our companies grow and scale. And that's our model. And it's usually scaling both talent and organization, but also geographical presence. So, we've helped the UKO guys set up a shop in France. We've helped the O11H, guys to sort of talk to potential non-Spanish clients. I mean, all of this is part of the model where we're really trying to leverage our relationships in other ecosystems, whether it's London or Paris, which are the two main hubs, to help our portfolio companies grow in there. And this is not going to stop. I think, once again, our view is that when you're raising money, if you have the luxury of having, a partner and not a simple investor, it's way better. And so being able to bring that to the table and having a dedicated team of 10 people just for our portfolio companies is instrumental. And to me, international expansion is a talent, to your point, Francisco, is like, where do you get the best people to make sure that when you project yourself into a new geo, you're making sure you can compete with local people, local competition, sorry. And then it's, clients. So obviously if you can land your first, clients and or partners at the beginning, well, it accelerates your go-to-market immensely. So these are the two main things we focus on. And we've always helped our Iberian entrepreneurs to do.
Yeah, and coming back to how to scale and like the main challenges that Spanish entrepreneurs face at the time of a scale. Francisco, which are those main obstacles that you've seen on Spanish startups and Spanish founders to scale globally, and how you've seen them overcome them?
Yeah, so I think since we are investing here, so our first investment was like in 2016 in Spain. The first thing that I noticed, or we noticed as a company, was that we were seeing that the Spanish companies were taking, in average, more time to decide to internationalize than, for example, what we see in Portugal. And this is a very obvious reason. The Portuguese market is very small. Spain is like, depending on the criteria, 3, 4, 5 times larger. So you needed, from day one, pretty much, to think about going abroad and build the processes, the teams to internationalize. In Spain, I think, since the market, and you could get very interesting metrics by exploring the local market for some period of time. In some cases, I believe that companies would lose the timing and the opportunity to internationalize earlier. I think this is changing also because many of these guys, the international funds, have come and also do and bring these resources to the companies and also help them in moving abroad. But I think this continues to be something to work. For example, in our specific case, when we enter, we try to sell Portugal as a very good test market with very low risk and a potential also not very big return, but you don't invest a lot of resources at the time or money to test the internationalization playbook. And this is an advantage because this starts creating the international movement inside the company, and you start creating and developing the processes and playbooks that you then use for going in other countries. And I think this is an important step for companies to overcome.
Yeah, thank you. So thinking about future trends and what is going to be Spain as a country and its role in the venture capital market, from your standpoint, Alex, how do you see Spain's role in the venture capital market in the next 5-10 years, and your prediction how it's going to develop?
No, hopefully very positive. I think, again, last 2 or 3 years were overall for VC super challenging, but I think Spain overall as a market is more important today than it used to be 3 years ago for European investors. I think we're going to see more of Western European and also out of Europe startups setting up shop here, which I think is going to be great for the ecosystem overall. I think there are super amazing and interesting second generation, third generation Spanish tech startups right now that will also make an impact globally. and but also they will educate more talent. So we think it's going to be super relevant. And what we are hoping for and what we start to see is people choose here to build startups. I mean, people with very international experiences, very international careers, and they choose here as this first step to start a company in Europe or even a global company. So we are pretty confident that this is only going to get more, and as a result, Spain as a location also is going to get more important.
Yep. And Ben, on your side, how do you see Spain's ability to attract that level of talent, tier 1 talent, given its strong quality of life and competitive cost structure to attract not only founders, but also international talent that want to work for those founders?
I think it's a question of making people's lives easier. And yes, the quality of life is one thing, and it's a very important parameter. But you have to think as a country of what else goes with talent, right? It's usually the family and the kids and visas and school and making sure that all of that works, so the whole machine kind of works. And the big advantage London had for years is that everyone is interested in speaking English. So people are like, oh, cool. A, they speak English. B, they're like, oh, it's good for the kids, and they're going to be doing this and that. I mean, if you can provide some sort of American experience where that as a founder you come to Spain and you have visas for your family if you're not European, and then you have access to English-speaking schools as well as Spanish, and that's a dual kind of model. I think it's super powerful, and so that's one. And then the one big elephant in the room, obviously, is tax. I mean, Portugal did it very well, and that's the one thing that gets talent in, and especially when you're a founder and you're about to exit or you exited, and you're like, well, now I need to pay my taxes somewhere. If I can do it in Spain because I have an incentive to do it, then I'm there. And usually when you have the entrepreneurial bug, you recreate businesses again. So if you come here and settle in and have your family, for all of these reasons, including tax, then there's a very high chance that you're going to be recreating a business locally again.
Yeah. Yep. So Francisco, coming back to Portugal and how much it has grown in the last few years, which has been impressive, probably thanks to what you said before, how Portuguese founders think globally since day one because of the size of the market. I was thinking how which trends you have seen in Portugal happening in the last few years that probably can be extrapolated into Spain and help Spain to grow even more.
Yeah, so when we first built the thesis of being an Iberian fund and focus in Portugal and Spain, one of the reasons was the complementarity in the deal flow, so in the companies that we would see. So Portugal has historically, and if you look at the success cases, been a B2B software country. Because B2C is very difficult to scale, you don't have initial metrics, so you're not able to compete in the early stages, so you're not able to attract investment. So the companies that that are there, that are unicorns, etc., are B2B software companies. And they continue, and this generates a circle, and so you continue to be, the region continues to be with a lot of talent in engineering. In Spain, if you look historically, and you said at the beginning some of the names, historically Spain has more been a B2C, consumer platforms, success stories and unicorns with Glovo, Cabify, you said Wallapop, eDreams many years ago. And so this also generated a new era of founders creating B2C businesses with all these different companies that were created and grew a lot in these last 10 years. With the crisis that we also talked a little bit, and everyone knows, B2C, I believe, B2C is very general, but e-commerce, marketplaces, platforms, the ones that suffer the most. I saw a statistic that impressed me. I don't know if it's true, but it's something to confirm. It was from an important source that 97% decrease in investment in B2C businesses across the world in the last 2 years. 97. It's almost nothing. So no one is investing anymore. And so this also created a need for adaptation that already started maybe 5 or 6 years ago, that we see now in Spain. Now the majority, if not pretty much 99% of our current important deal flow coming from Spain are actually B2B software companies. So that's the trend that I see is now growing here. Of course, a lot of AI, both infrastructure and application at the application level, but also SaaS, vertical and horizontal, but growing a lot in Spain. So the last investments that we did here were all B2B, and I think it's here to stay. But also, with this down in B2C, I think there's still a big opportunity. When no one is looking is probably when you build the best companies. Yep. So we need to continue pushing on that side, and we want to continue investing in B2C. The question is we don't have many deals on the table.
Totally.